I was browsing LinkedIn the other day and saw a post from someone I admire, Kurt Pinoy, and he was asking a question like why budget customer experience tools actually end up costing more. So in this video, we're going to answer this question. By the way, my name is Dominic. I'm a customer experience enthusiast. I've been one for the past 15 years. I'm a Zendesk Premier partner, myself and my team, 11 years of experience with the platform, and we're also Zendesk resellers. And we always come across this objection like, oh, it's kind of expensive. Yes, that is true. It is pretty expensive, but it is expensive for a reason, because you get so much more in return. So the return of investment actually turns out to make sense to spend more to make more. Well, in this video, we're going to do the reverse and talk about why the cheap tools actually end up costing you more than this actually expensive tool. The number one reason, early cancellation fees from breaking your contract. So what we see is people start out with Zendesk, they test it, they like it, and then they're hit with the price and say, bull, I saw somebody selling it for half the price. And then they go for the tool half the price, and then they use it for, I don't know, 3 months, and they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then we see them coming back to Zendesk. But then, you know, they were lured in with a very good price, and they have to honor it for the rest of the year that they paid for and they made the commitment for. So you cancel that, so you are left with the money you paid for the cheap tool, and now you're coming back to Zendesk, and on top of paying Zendesk already high fee, you have to pay the backlog of, you know, the other guys. So number two is data migration and workflow migration and your customer history. This is costing you money to install, to migrate everything, so you're up to date with all the recent history. You'll be able to function as a business, to have context, to know who your customers are and why they're reaching out, historical data so agents have context, etc, etc, etc. Number three is integrating with other tools. So tools that are appealing because they have a lower price, they have some hidden troubles, and meaning that their APIs are not very mature. So APIs is application and programming interface, which allows you to connect two tools together. If you can imagine two wires being connected, so you know there's data exchange between these, but they are not able to do it very well. You know, they are not able to do it instantly. You have to find some workarounds to, you know, to have something that binds these together that actually makes data exchange possible. Doesn't work very well. Number four is reconfiguration of this new tool that you're going for. Now you have to set up a system from scratch, so you have a learning curve, and it's not just that you're spending money on. Maybe you hire a consultant to do that for you. Maybe this platform, because it's smaller and cheaper, they offer the onboarding and the setup completely free, and that's great, but you're still left with learning and having a learning curve to understand how this platform works and how everything is put together. But most of the time you have to hire somebody to actually do it well for you. Not to say that you don't have to do the same with Zendesk, but it's very intuitive where you are, what you want to do, and of course it's a very complex tool. If you want to, you know, cut corners and set it up in a month's time, you can hire consultants. Otherwise you spend, I don't know, 6 months learning it, and then you're the expert. Good. But what I'm saying is you have to do the same with this cheaper tool, and I don't know if you have that time available. And what I'm trying to get to is, you know, you don't pay with money, you pay with your time to get over that learning curve, to know where everything is. Maintenance is super costly. It ends up being more expensive because you have to recreate some features from scratch. It's features that might have been part of a default offering at with another more mature and more pricey tool like Zendesk or Salesforce or whatever you want to use. By the way, if you enjoy the content, I'd be really grateful if you subscribe to this YouTube channel and you let me know what you think in the comments, and I will get back to you. I'd be really grateful, and thank you so much. All right, this is the last and final point, and I promise I'll leave you alone. So this one is called headaches, 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 headaches. So what I was able to gather by working 11 years as a Zendesk consultant was that when you go for the cheaper tool, I've obviously dabbed in that. I have a video on this channel about how to set up Freshdesk. I've played with Intercom, I've played with Dixa, I played with TCN, I played with a lot of them. What ends up happening is all of these points that I made earlier, they end up giving you a lot of headache. This headache means from stuff breaking, features missing, or created features and not breaking. Maintenance wise, you don't know where anything is, and you always need help, and you feel like you're trying to keep everything together, and it's always sometimes falling apart in one area, and you end up feeling stuck and trying to, you know, put stitches or fix a motor with a wire, and that's not a very good experience for you as a leader. But anyway, if you're a small company, I see the value in just sticking with the cheaper tool, and it makes sense because you might have more time time on your hands, or you don't have the funds available, and it's fine. You know, I don't judge. It actually makes a lot more sense, and I always give advice like counter to my interest. I say, why not try a cheaper tool? And I say, no, I'm hooked on Zendesk. But anyway, that's beside the point. Now, as a conclusion, I want to tell you a story and an anecdote, because throughout this 11 years experience, I've come across so many different situations. For example, it's also like an East versus West type of mentality. And what I've noticed is, for example, in Western countries, not necessarily Western in a geographical sense, let's say companies belonging to countries that have been capitalist for a long time, they tend to have a bit more stricter work ethic, and they're better at the work ethic thing. So they do the work and they have more respect for the work. So in this case, for example, when I started out in this journey with Zendesk, the German market, for example, was always keen on, oh, let's just save up some money by using, for example, Odoo, which was super cheap, or using some obscure tool that was cheap, or maybe even open source. And everybody was so hooked on, oh man, let's be efficient with the spending. So when they ended up realizing is that even though the tool was either cheap or was free, they had 2 or 3 people stuck in doing maintenance. So they were saving on the cost for the tool, but they were paying the salaries of 2 people or 3 people doing the actual maintenance of the tool to actually keep it together. And that's not a great experience, to be honest. So obviously, you know, the mentality changed, and of course they realized, oh, let's adjust and let's start using Zendesk. So that's why Zendesk is, is a big thing now. Similarly, I am Romanian, for example, and in the East, the work ethic is like, meh, funk it. It's more like have a good time, pretend that you're working, and so the boss thinks you're working, but you're actually just browsing Facebook or whatever. And the Romanian market is at the point of inflection where how Germany was 10, 11 years ago. They are still trying to save on money by getting these cheap tools, but they're starting to realize this exact thing that I saw in the German market, in the DACH market, where like, oh my God, we're actually spending a lot of money on people doing maintenance, and we're keeping everything, stitching it together. We have information all over the place, and we're not really going anywhere. So we should maybe go for this expensive tool. And also to bring this point together in Eastern, more capitalist environments, that it makes sense where people have a more stricter work ethic, let's put it like that, to invest in technology more and, squeeze all the productivity you can from the worker and also from the tool. In the Eastern type of mentality, where I'm excluding Romania this time. For example, in India, it doesn't always make sense to get the most expensive tool, because as efficient as you can make the tool, you're not going to get the same kind of productivity from the workers. India, please don't hate me. I'm putting myself in the same bucket. So yeah, it's something that I've come to understand and realize. So what I'm suggesting is like, maybe you don't get the cheapest tool, you don't get the BMW or the Mercedes of tools, which for example is Zendesk and Salesforce. You get the Toyota, you get the, Freshdesk, you get Intercom, you get something else. You get Help Scouts, you get a bunch of other tools, that are not as expensive. Ooh, we made it through, didn't we? This was a hard topic to do, at least for me to verbalize. I understand I might upset some people, but whatever, it is what it is. Please remember that I love you, and I will see you in the next video, and bye.